you're into mushroom farming, you already know that spawn is one of the most important stages. Spawn is like a seed. If your spawn is strong, clean, and fast, your mushroom bags have a better chance of performing well. But if your spawn is weak and contaminated and slow, everything about that particular bag becomes a struggle. Bad spawns can spoil your substrate, bad spawns can delay production, bad spawns can reduce your yield, and bad spawns can make a beginner lose confidence completely. Many new mushroom farmers don't fail because they are not serious. They fail because the spawn stage is very sensitive. One small mistake can destroy the whole batch. Meanwhile, or maybe the grain is too wet, or maybe the grain is too dry, maybe the jar was not properly cleaned, yes, or maybe the steaming time was too short, maybe the mycelium was already weak, or maybe the method they copied online was created for a completely different environment. That is one major problem I see. A lot of mushroom information online comes from countries with stable power, cooler weather, better equipment, and easier access to laboratory tools. But here in Nigeria, in many parts of Africa, our farming really is different. Gas is expensive, power is not always stable, equipment can be very costly, pressure cookers and autoclaves are not easy to buy for every beginner to start with. So if you keep telling small farmers that they cannot start until they have everything perfect, many people will never start. But at the same time, we must be careful. Cheap does not always mean good. No. Simple does not always mean safe, and shortcuts may become expensive if they lead to contamination. That is why I decided to not just talk, I decided to run experiments. Yes, the biggest goal is the same. I want mushroom farming in Africa to become cheaper, more practical, and more accessible. Not theories only, not copy and paste farming, real experiments, real farm conditions, real results. So in this series, I'm testing 7 growing spawn formulas. I'm not claiming that I already know the winner. No, this is why it's an experiment. We are going to observe them carefully and compare 3 major. Number 1 is contamination, which jar stays clean and which ones fail. Number 2, we'll be looking at their colonization speed, which formula allows the mycelium to spread faster. And number 3, we'll be looking at the practical value, which one gives the best balance between cost, speed, and reliability. Because in farming, the best method is not always the most expensive method, and the cheapest method is not always the most profitable method. The real winner is going to be a method that small farmers can repeat successfully. So in this video, I'll show you the 7 formulas, how I prepared them, and why I'm testing each one and what I expect to happen. Then in part 2, we'll begin to see the real results. So you're going to have to stick with me. If you've not subscribed, go ahead and subscribe so that you'll be able to see the part 2 that shows the results when they drop. So secret number 1, a good experiment must solve a real farm problem. Many people do experiments just to look scientific, but on the farm, every experiment must answer a real question. For me, this experiment started with a simple question: can we reduce the cost and stress of spawn production without reducing quality? That question mattered because grain is not free, energy is not free, labor is not free, time is also not free. So if you're producing spawn every week, even a small improvement can save you money over time. For example, let's say a farmer uses 10 kg of grains for spawn production. If the farmer switched from 100% grain to a 90% grain, means 1 kg of grain has been replaced with sawdust. If the farmer uses an 80% grain and 20% sawdust, that means 2 kg of grain has been replaced. Now on a small batch, that may not look like much, but imagine doing that every week. Imagine doing it every month. Imagine doing it across 100 of spawn jars. That is where the saving may begin to matter. But here's the catch: if the sawdust formula colonizes too slow, then it may not really save money. If it gets contaminated easily, it may actually cost you more money. If it performs poorly inside the fruiting bag, then the cheaper formula becomes a trap. That is why this experiment is not only about cost, it's about balance. The formula must be affordable, it must be clean, it must colonize well, and it must make sense for farmers who want to scale, who want to use it to produce hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of bags. So before testing any spawn formula, we're going to write down the problem we want to solve. So we're going to label every jar, which I've already done. We're going to use same date, same observation method, and we're not going to rely on our memory. And now that we know the main question, let me show you the 7 formulas. Yeah, so every formula, different thing they're doing. So let me quickly turn my camera now. These are the 7 formulas I'm testing. Formula 1 is 90% grain. This is formula 1. Formula 1, this is formula 1. This is today is the 5th day. I'm also today is the 5th day that I'm doing this video now. This is formula 1, 90% grain, 10% sawdust with calcium carbonate. This is 90% grain, 10% sawdust without calcium carbonate. This is 80% with 20% sawdust without calcium carbonate. This is 80% with 20% with calcium carbonate. The next thing here is this is pure grain. This is pure grain. This is fully pure grain, 100% grain with calcium carbonate. So these two are no soak, no simmer. This is also 80%, 80-20. This is with calcium carbonate. This is without calcium carbonate. Okay, so these are the 7 jars. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. The 100% grain is actually expected to perform very well because grains are, high in nutrient. Muslims usually love grains. It has food, it has contact points, it can spread from grain to grain. So my first prediction is that the Formula 5, that's this, may colonize faster. Let's see. Miracle is already happening. Because grain is nutrient rich, contamination can also enjoy it if the process is not clean. The 90-10 formulas are interesting because they still contain plenty of grains, but they reduce the grain slightly by adding sawdust. So that small sawdust addition may improve structure and reduce cost a little. For the 80-20 formula, so this is really me asking how much grain can we replace before performance starts dropping. That is why I'm really curious about this 80-20. I don't even know why I came up decided to do this 80-20, but yeah. If it works, it could be very useful, but if it slows down too much, then maybe the 80-20% sawdust is too much for this purpose. So that means we might end up rooting for this. Then we have these ones. These ones are the wild cards. The no soak, no simmer. So instead of washing, draining and drying, then loading your ingredients in your jar, you just put everything and pour water, measured water. If this one was going to save labor, it's going to reduce stress. But if the water calculation is wrong, the jars can become too wet or too dry. So these two jars can either surprise us or disappoint us. That is why I want you to pay attention to this particular two. They may be the most important part of this experiment. I've shown you the spawn bottles, and let's talk about a secret. That's moisture. Moisture is a silent killer. Okay, this is where many spawn projects fail. A lot of beginners think contamination only comes from dirty air, dirty hands, or dirty equipment. Yes, hygiene matters a lot, but moisture also matters a lot. If your grain is too wet, bacteria can multiply quickly. If your grain is too dry, the myceliums may struggle to grow. So moisture must be balanced, okay? For the traditional grain jars in this experiment, I washed the grains first, okay? Then I simmered, and after simmering, I drained it properly. Then I allowed the surface of So these ones, they are the traditional ones, okay? Allow the surface to dry before loading it into these jars. So that drying stage is important. The grain should be hydrated inside, but the outside should not be dripping wet. When you shake it, it should move. I'm not shaking it yet, it's not yet time. It has to be at least 30% colonized before I shake, so I'm not shaking this one. It should not become sticky block. That's, before you inoculate. If the grains stick together too much, the mycelium may not spread evenly. And if water collects at the bottom of the jar, that can be a danger zone. There's no water at the bottom. Then for the no soak, no simmer, that method is different. Yes, I loaded the dry grains and sawdust directly into this place, and I added measured water. This method depends heavily on measurements. You cannot just pour water with your eyes and hope for the best. I have to do a lot of plus and minus, because with the no soak, no simmer, the grain absorbs water inside the jar during the heating. If the water is too much, the jar may become wet and have a lot of bacteria, okay? So if water is too dry, the grain might not be hydrated properly. So this is one of the biggest scientific lessons in this experiment, okay? Myceliums, they need moisture, but excess free water supports contamination. So that's one thing you need to know. The next secret is calcium carbonate. Yeah, so some mushroom growers add calcium carbonate to green spoons, some do not. In fact, a lot of people don't. And sometimes beginners hear about it and start treating it like magic powder. Calcium carbonate, which is a pH buffer, is not magic, is an addictive. Okay, but like every activity, it must have a purpose. In this experiment, I'm using calcium carbonate. Okay, I didn't use with ash, I didn't use any other, I didn't use gypsum, I used calcium carbonate. Some of the formulas I removed it from others so we can compare. Most of the formulas have calcium carbonate, some don't have calcium carbonate. Okay, I already said it initially. The purpose why I had to do it like that is so I can compare and contrast very well. And this matters because calcium carbonate can help with pH balance and may also help reduce clumping. It can also make grains easier to shake depending on the grain and preparation methods, but we should not assume that because something is popular, it is automatically necessary in every situation. No. Maybe the jars with calcium carbonate will perform better. Maybe they will, maybe they will shake better. Maybe they will colonize more evenly. But maybe the jars without calcium carbonate will also perform better. That is why we are testing. Okay, that's why it's a test. On a farm, every input must justify itself, right? If an ingredient adds cost, it must also add value. If it does not improve performance, then we need to question it. Okay, this is how small farmers must protect their profit. So we're going to check all those things. If the jars without calcium carbonate do better for any reason, then why do we need to add calcium carbonate with that extra cost? So no, we're just going to keep them aside and say, okay, you don't necessarily need calcium carbonate for you to be able to get your spawns produced right. Secret number 5 is, of course, some people call it, I call it low-tech steaming. Okay, some people call it broke guys and tech. So for this batch, we didn't use a pressure cooker, we didn't use an autoclave, we used a large pot. The jars were elevated above the water, then we steam for continue steaming for 3 hours. I want to be very clear. I'm not saying pressure cookers are useless or autoclave are useless. I'm not saying they're unnecessary. In professional spawn production, pressure sterilization is powerful because it reaches higher temperatures than normal steaming. Okay, that higher temperature helps you with tougher contamination. So this experiment is not me saying throw away pressure cookers. This experiment is asking a practical questions. Can careful low-tech steaming produce usable spawns for small farmers who do not have pressure systems? That is the question. Don't get me wrong. And we must answer it honestly. If the jar is contaminated, we will just say it. If the jar stay clean, we will also say it. If only some formulas survive, we will study why. Because sometimes the method is not the only factor. The formula itself may affect performance. A wetter formula may contaminate faster. A drier formula may colonize slower. A full grain formula may grow faster but carry higher contamination risk. And yes, it's actually growing faster. A sawdust formula may be cheaper but slower. A no-soak, no-simmer formula may save time but depends heavily on accurate water measurement. So the winner will not be chosen by emotion. Please get it. The winner will be chosen by observation. And this is very, very important. Do not judge spawns too early. The jar can look good in the first few days and fail later. The jar can start slowly and later become strong. So we're going to observe over time. That's why you need to subscribe and be around to see the results in the part. Okay, we'll look at the smell, we'll look at the growth speed. We'll also look at the mycelium spread. We'll look at whether contamination appears. We'll compare the formula side by side. This is how a real farm experiment should be done. Okay, so I'm going to show you. Look at this is already the pure grain. If you take a look at it, you can see it's already doing well. Like you can see now. You can see. Good. We are not shaking. No, make sure you are not shaking. Before the results come in, let me make my prediction. My first prediction is that this 100% grain is going to colonize faster because full grain gives the mycelium a lot of food and many contact points. It's already looking that means, but fast does not mean that it's going to be, if it gets contaminated, it's losing. And then my second prediction is on this 90/10. They still contain a lot of grain, but the sawdust may improve the structure and reduce cost slightly. This 80/20 may be slower, but if they stay clean and colonize well, they become very interesting for cost reduction. My fourth prediction is this too. Some people outside the country have used it and it worked perfectly well for them. If it really works, it's going to be amazing. Okay, it's going to save us the labor that is involved in washing, soaking and simmering. Okay, it's going to save costs. But yet again, we do not know yet. So this is why we are testing. But if it works, personally, me, I will stick to this if it works. Okay. And I want you to make your own prediction before part 2. Do not wait until the results come out for you to say something. Comment now. Which formula do you think will win? Okay. So we have the 90/10 with calcium with pH buffer. We have the one without pH buffer. We have the 80/20 with 80/20 without. We have the full grain. We have the no soak, no simmer 80/20 with or without. Yeah. So here's the bigger lesson. African farmers must stop owning coping systems. We must start testing and documenting our own systems because our conditions, of course, are different. Our weather is different. Our equipment are different. Our costs are different. Our market is different. So yes, We can learn from global mushroom farmers, but we must also adapt. A method that works perfectly in a laboratory might not be practical for a beginner in Nigeria. Okay, and if you're trying to set up the whole lab tech in your space, your production cost is going to be very high, and then it's going to make mushrooms super expensive. A method that is slow might be reliable. You just have to test. Okay, that's why you test and you record. Okay, when you keep records, you don't guess. You begin to see patterns. You begin to understand the farm better. Like generally, not just in spawn production, like generally running your farm, you begin to make better decisions. And even if an experiment fails, I love experimenting. Even if an experiment fails, you still have that record, you have that data. Okay, with that, you're going to be able to make better decisions. So till the next time, I'll keep posting videos while documenting the whole thing, and then at the end of the day, when we have our results, I'm going to do the part 2 of this video where I'm going to share the result with us. So make sure you're dropping your own prediction. Which do you think is going to work? We will use the low tech, in quotes, the broke guys tech for all the 7 jars. That what we use. We use the broke guys tech or the low tech pattern. We use pressure cooker for all of it. We didn't use autoclave for all of it. So the formula is just different, but the whole system is the same. So don't forget, like, subscribe, share, turn on your notification. So while we keep learning and observing and everything, we'll be waiting for the part 2 of this video where we'll get to where the results are in, and then we can analyze. And yeah, that's pretty much it.